Madame de Sodonès. The two went off; they waited for them several days, but in vain. They never returned. In the meantime the victuals were getting exhausted. The forsaken ones in vain endeavored to descend the Bobonasa on a raft. They had to again take to the forest, and make their way on foot through the almost impenetrable undergrowth. The fatigues were too much for the poor folks. They died off one by one in spite of the cares of the noble Frenchwoman. At the end of a few days children, relations, and servants were all dead. "What an unfortunate woman!" said Lina. Madame de Sodonès alone remained, continued Manoel. There she was, at 1,000 leagues from the ocean which she was trying to reach. It was no longer a mother who continued her journey toward the river; the mother had lost her children. She had buried them with her own hands. It was a wife who wished to see her husband once again. She traveled night and day, and at length regained the Bobonasa. She was there received by some kind hearted Indians, who took her to the mission, where the escort was waiting. But she arrived alone, and behind her the stages of the route were marked with graves. Madame de Sodonès reached Loreto, where we were a few days back. From this Peruvian village she descended the Amazon as we are doing at this moment, and at length she rejoined her husband after a separation of 19 years. "Poor lady!" said Minha. "Above all, poor mother!" answered Yaquita. At this moment Araujo, the pilot, came aft and said: "Joam Garral, we are off the Ronde Island; we are passing the frontier." "The frontier," replied Joam. And rising, he went to the side of the jangada and looked long and earnestly at the Ronde Island, with the waves breaking up against it. Then his hand sought his forehead, as if to rid himself of some remembrance. "The frontier," murmured he, bowing his head by an involuntary movement. But an instant after his head was raised, and his expression was that of a man resolved to do his duty to the last. CHAPTER 12.